This week we have one reverse mortgage originator whose father got a reverse mortgage and the reasons behind that choice. Welcome back to the Industry Leader Update. So glad to have you with us today. We have a special guest, George Broutis from One Trust Home Loans, whose father actually got a reverse mortgage. And I came across this story in a conversation with a handful of other professionals, and I found George's story very moving and interesting. And I think it's also a good reminder that behind every reverse mortgage that's done out there, there's always a story. So George, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So can you give us just a brief history of your professional background and how you became a reverse mortgage professional?
Okay, well, it can't be too brief because I'm old, but yeah. I started in commercial real estate in Denver, Colorado. I went to college there. Came back in about 10 years later, did a little stint with a local government agency that owns more land than anybody else in Illinois. And then I got involved in my father's business. It was a large family business, and they were kind of getting ready to wind it down. They'd been in business over 50 years. It was a business my father got involved with when he was a teenager, actually, lived near the company and so forth. And I helped kind of use my financial background to help structure the company for sale, and the land as well that we had with it. So from that point on, I kind of got into the residential real estate business and had done that for a number of years. And then about 4 years ago, got into the reverse mortgage business, and kind of curious as to why. I had gotten my indoctrination to the real estate business from my family. My father and mother married a long time, lived in their home for ultimately almost 60 years. And they had a very nice life and enjoyed what they did. But about 14, 15 years ago, they were in their mid-80s and decided that they wanted to continue to live their lifestyle the way they wanted to live it. And so I had heard about reverse mortgages, being in the real estate business, talked to them about it, suggested that maybe that would be something that they'd be interested in doing. They actually did it. It wasn't at the time out of any particular need. As I said, they had had a very, very kind of full life together. They had known each other since before World War II, actually, which is kind of the story of how this all came about. My father recently passed away at 99 and a half years old, and he had been in World War II. He entered it the month before he turned 20. He was there till he was 23. He thought he was going to wanted to be a doctor. He thought he was going to do bedpan duty in Paris, and he ended up as a medic on the front lines in the Battle of the Bulge and in Germany, and liberating a concentration camp and a lot of other things that a lot of other World War II veterans did. Anyway, he went from that to his business here and lived with my parents, and they enjoyed their lives, and they traveled a lot and did a lot of different things. But after he closed his business, it became a little bit harder to do all the things they wanted to do and to also help their grandkids and do some nice things and just kind of enjoy life. And so they took out a reverse. And it was kind of funny because over the course of time, when my mom passed away 4 years ago, my father ended up living with me. And sometimes he would be in the car with me. And when we would be going someplace in the car, I might get a phone call, and it might be a lead call for a reverse mortgage. And I would take it. And, I would carry on a conversation. And ultimately, when I finished that conversation, Dad sometimes would say, wow, that was kind of interesting, or, geez, can you make money from that? And it wasn't my dad. My dad was about helping people and doing things. And he was a very kind and gentle man, and everything he did throughout his life, and my mother too, was generally for the benefit of others. They got joy from that. And I was raised with that same sort of thing. But what he said to me in the car is important. He said, "Can you help that person?" And I kind of was taken by that because that's what we do. But for Dad to just say that kind of off the cuff, it just was kind of reinforced why we do what we do. In our space today, we change lives with reverse mortgages, and we do it every day. Sometimes people need a little nudge to understand that we really are changing their lives for the better by offering the products we offer, but we do.
So one of the questions that a lot of originators, the good ones, the skilled ones, will ask are sources of income. But many miss the question, the important question, which kind of leads into your father's story. How long will this income last, right? Does it have an end date, or will it reduce? What happened in your father's particular situation?
Well, it was kind of interesting because at first they didn't utilize it because they didn't need it. And then as they were getting closer and closer to whatever you want to call it, the end, so to speak, 94 and 99 is a pretty good long life. The reverse mortgage allowed them to live the life they wanted to live, go out to dinner and do the things that they did throughout their lives, buy dinner for other people and things of that nature. And they were able to do that till the very end. And at the end of it, there was still equity remaining in the home. Actually, we sold Dad's home, the remainder, about 2 years before he passed away, and there was sufficient equity still left in it. But they had kind of beat the system. They didn't run out of money, and I mean that's something that we're all aware of today. I mean, one of the things that I tell all of the people I talk to is we're here for the what ifs in life. We don't know what's going to face us. And wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit of something, security on the side, for those what ifs?
Was there going to be any change to the income they received from the sale of the business at some point?
Well, you have to understand my parents. They were interesting people. I mean, my dad wasn't particularly, I mean, he worked for, 75 years of his life. He wasn't particularly a saver. He wasn't a saver at all. He always felt that he was doing well enough that he could pay for the things he needed. There was a rude awakening once the business stopped. The business was, when you have a closely held business, particularly 20 some odd years ago, there were certain advantages to that. They paid for a lot of the different everyday life things that we did: cars, insurance, dinners, trips, all those things that that people that don't have that kind of business have to pay for out of their own pocket. So when we kind of sold, we actually closed the business and sold the real estate and had it redeveloped. I told my parents, I said, you can't be like you've been your whole life, because it's not an endless faucet. It's going to stop. And my mother would say, well, don't tell me how to live, and fortunately, they made it. But it's the reverse mortgage really helped. It really did.
And that's a difficult conversation for adult children to have with their parents, but it's true. There's not enough peanut butter to cover the bread, and that's really where many retirees find themselves. What's the takeaway, George, that you would share with other reverse mortgage professionals watching today from your father's experience? How can they apply this to their encounters with older homeowners?
Well, I think the first thing that we forget to do with a lot of the people that we talk to is to really get to understand what's the why. Why are they thinking of this? What did they do to get us to them? Did they click on something? Are they looking for a loan? Are they looking for some sort of lifeline? What is it? And for most seniors, and particularly people like my parents from their generation, which truly was the greatest generation. I mean, they didn't want to ask for help. They didn't want to show weakness. They didn't want to do those things. And most of our seniors are the same way today. So I think we have to cautiously ask our clients, our customers, not really ask, but kind of keep asking questions till we determine what's the why. What is it the thing they're most concerned of? What's the problem that we can help solve for them? Oftentimes, we get excited and we do it every day, so we know how good it can be for a client. And we lose sight of the fact that each one needs to be educated. Each one has to understand that this is something, again, I use the term life-changing, and it is.
Absolutely. Well, behind every reverse mortgage, and you know this well as one who's in the field, in the trenches, day in and day out, there is in fact a story. They're also unique as the borrower themselves and their home. George, thank you so much for sharing that. And your father sounded like an amazing man, as well as your mom sounds like a great lady as well. You're very fortunate, and thank you for sharing their experience. I find it very heartwarming to hear that your father got to hear you engage with potential reverse mortgage borrowers as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. I enjoyed being here. Have a great day.
And that wraps up another edition of the Industry Leader Update. If you'd like to leave comments or questions regarding today's interview with George, you can do so in the comments section below. Also, if you feel this video would benefit other professionals, you can share this video on your LinkedIn and Facebook profiles. Don't forget, we have a YouTube channel. Be sure to smash the subscribe button. That way you never miss an upcoming episode. And if you enjoyed what you heard today or saw today, you can also hit the like button as well. And each and every week, you can catch up on your reverse mortgage news just by putting in a pair of headphones or plugging it into a speaker. We have Heckam World Weekly, and you can also listen and subscribe on iTunes if you're an Apple user. Thanks again for joining us, and be sure to return next week for more reverse mortgage news, commentary, and analysis here at Heckam World.